Fire Giant is the single greatest achievement of Miyazaki's career, and while I'm kind of memeing with that awful perspective, I'm also kind of serious. This guy is the business. Elden Ring has by far the best cutscenes in any game of all time, with MGRR being a close second and RE5 being a close third, but Fire Giant's phase transition blows everything out of the park. Something fundamental changed within me when I saw it for the first time. It makes me jump up and down and bite my hand. Angle number 2, I love rubbish. If something is just a little bit shit, I'm all over that. Point that character trait at me. My piece of shit bike isn't a bicycle, it's a friend. Fire Giant isn't a boss, it's an ideology. Horrendous hitboxes, CTE inducing explosion effects, and
oh, back in my day, the bosses had the same moveset as my son's funeral procession.
well, guess what? This menace exists outside of the restrictions of good boss design. Fuck you. He is a walking cataclysm, possessed by the universe's most destructive foot fetishist, and the sensei of Seamus. But that all changed when the fire giants attacked. Wall Leyndell has fallen, and the lands between are overrun by 30-meter-tall landslides with anger disorders. If we don't fight now, we will be flattened and incinerated, never tasting freedom again. I will personally eradicate every last one. Commence the counteroffensive. Before we take a bite out of our thinking disorder pie, allow me to lay down the pre-game. First off, I started recording this at around 5:33 AM without having slept, so the veil between the Matrix and the Wired is already shaky at best. Second, I have to pick Deprived, and I am only allowed to level Strength. Third, no quit-outs. Ever. I go this entire run without quitting out a single time, even to open my bowels. Fourth, the finish line is the Fire Giant's Gravity Bomb, sitting atop Flame Tweak and defended by John Fire Giant. I need to put an end to their invasion before they collectively take the fattest rip of all time, plunging the cosmos into an age of insatiable hunger and conspiracy theories. This leads me into my game plans. I thought it would be somewhat useful and kind of funny to draw several maps equipped with the area of operations and name each one. Starting us off is Operation Groundwork, which will lay the foundations and jumping off points. The High Road is a lengthy offensive that will penetrate deep into Liurnia. If the ruin-strewn precipice is inaccessible, there is Delta Mango, with its pincer maneuver on the second church, and the Contingency, with its trapped chest. Following any of those three is Operation Capture Wall Leyndell. This mission will decide the fates of everyone in this land. If that is successful, the Gauntlet will invert the invasion into the Fire Giant's homeland, and close out the game in fiery fashion. Haha.
No problem. We'll see you then tomorrow at 4:05, okay?
Yep, sweet. Thank you.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
With that all being said, allow me to place our focus onto the run itself. While I was yapping, you saw me get creamed by the tutorial with the Rykart shovel in hand. This is because I randomized incorrectly and Deprived got that weapon. Of all the ones it could have received, the chances are slim enough to fit into the bias that I'm being monitored. Countering my quick thinking to avoid Soldier of Giant is another mistake. That was making everything the Phase 2 Giant, so let me fix that really quick. To no one's surprise but my own, I fucked that one up too. Every Phase 1 counterpart is green. I was inspired by this to create a pitch for Marvel Studios called Schizophrenic Hulk. This offer was rejected at the cost of billions for them. As you can clearly see, everything is terrible. As soon as the Phase 1s get aggroed to me, they throw their own pitch at me at the cost of my health bar, in the form of an avalanche that, I guess, gets materialized from nothing. It would have been pretty cool if the debris field was color-coded to whatever he was standing on, but nobody can have anything nice these days. The simple act of trying to make it a Church of Ella is immensely painful and seemingly impossible to complete without undergoing the angular forces of a frisbee at the behest of Fire Giant's own one.
Oh wow, I made it!
According to Operation Groundwork, the next checkpoint we need to reach is the Torrent Bonfire. Color me with paint, but I don't think that's going to be very simple. Making a break for it will not cut anything other than my lifespan, due to the mountain shearing capabilities of what I will now dub bowl hitters, who hit me with their bowls. Once aggroed, they stay aggroed forever. I test this out later, but I can just state it outright. They never ever de-aggro once their meat's been cheesed. Couple this with the avalanche and triple it with several dozen more of them and you have somewhat of a problem. I get bored and get a proper gander around the other side to see if that's any worse, and sure enough it's somehow worse than even those expectations. This is where I learned of an even worse attack than the avalanche that is unique to Phase 2 giants, who I will call Backshot Kings, who like to shoot my back with this bullshit flame breath. The avalanche stops after it has tracked enough terrain, but this flame breath functionally traverses infinite tracts of land at insane speeds if you have no cover, but even with cover it can ricochet and hit you from another angle. Growing desperate, I study them from afar and note their behaviors as observed. If the enemy they replaced had ambient pathing, they will walk in random directions until they aggro to me. Speaking of, their aggro is based mostly on line of sight, though not entirely, and honestly it's completely pointless to try to rationalize it. Circumstance and situation is the only way to go about it. For this circumstance and situation, it can be noted that whenever I get sicked on varies depending on who paths where and when, which unfortunately is random and impossible to predict.
What the fuck is that?
And before I know it, I say it. I say the words.
I could use quitouts.
This is my very first quit out. The very first time I used it for this run. And it crashes my game in a way I never knew was possible. The environment is still active, but every entity has ceased its operations. This is what I get for breaking a rule only 17 minutes and 50 seconds into the run. Yes, I use these to degrees never before endured, and in ways never before conceived. I even go as far as to bring back QS.
Huh?
If you haven't seen my previous video, it's an abbreviation of quit out spam. Though I don't use it just yet, and I promise you that the run wouldn't even be possible without it. As if I couldn't get any more deplorable, I make the decision to break away from Operation Groundwork to get a slightly closer bonfire in the nearby mineshaft, roughly halfway between the church and the horse. For someone who spends their free time staring at their monitor and twitching, you sure do like to watch me do the same. For far too long, I undergo the angular forces of the definition of insanity, changing literally nothing about each attempt other than coming up with ideas that either have no effect on anything or never get used to begin with. The illusion of choice clobbers me over the head over and 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 over. The run grinding to a halt straight out the door may look unexpected to you, but this is exactly what I was anticipating. In fact, all I ever do is anticipate the worst possible outcomes. On the one hand, I'm usually delighted with the barest of minimums, and on the other, I'm prepared when the worst eventually comes to pass. This seems like a great idea until you realize that being this way is incredibly corrosive on the soul. When it comes to these runs, I honestly shoot myself in the foot. If it seems too easy, I adjust it until it causes physical discomfort, since it's no fun if it's too easy. Obviously, this is incredibly idiotic, but the worst part can be explained with a thought experiment. Assuming you can regenerate limbs and you are forced to get your arm chopped off every day, it will only get more and more painful the more you anticipate the pain that comes. The only way to combat this is to completely desensitize. Now, with the pattern recognized, I can apply this anticipation of pain to literally anything. I break away from Operation G to circumvent my problems through Lake Agile. Suffice to say it's fucked, and wait a second, Stick America. At this point in time I'd completely forgotten about that mechanic, but now of all times, I needed it. After studying the interactive map for Elden Ring, I locate 2 nearby Stakes of Marika that would aid in this fruitless endeavor. Coming out of the range of one comes with the risk of nuking that attempt if I die before the next checkpoint. But damn it, it's all I damn it have, damn it. In the Lake Agile pathway, what I first need to do is make it down into the shallow waters to proc the Stake of Marika. This sends me forward about 20 meters and within the right angle to gun into the next one, which lays on top of this hill. Once I leave the water, however, the first stake loses functionality and I don't know when the next one will activate. In an act of desperation and moment of weakness, I quit out. The second one ever, and one that will eventually get lost in the sauce. My life is moot. And the Stake of Marika.
No!
And that was all I needed to drop everything I deemed to be integrity. Fuck it all! I will QS as much as I damn well need to get where I need to go. Even if my goals change in the short term, it should be serviceable if it's in the name of the greater objective. I absolutely must avoid stagnation, even if it means to give myself anything at all to work toward, no matter how stupid it is. I will get this singular bonfire that will never be useful to me ever again, and I will burn my flame to ashes to do so. Seeing as I was mostly looking at a loading screen anyway the whole time, I thought I'd fix the bull hitters and make them normal, at the very least. I was fighting the urge to rip my tongue out as much as I was fighting the urge to QS after a single roll, to get at least some gameplay involved, but I just couldn't help it. Tragically, even if I did that, the Backshot Kings had an ace up their bracers, in the form of an instantaneous smash upon loading in, that supersedes the capabilities of even QS. If I got unlucky, that was it on that front. If some fire somehow manages to bypass a load-in, that was that. If I get the urge to roll more than just once in an effort to show self-respect, that is also that, though given enough time. The floodgates have been opened now. The Titans don't damage themselves unless they're part of the infrequent infighting groups strewn across the game, even with their world-ending nukes and smashes, and I don't have a single hope to spare when it comes to killing them with either my shitty trowel or bow and arrow. Because it's fucking Fire Giant, and even then it would take until the heat death of the universe to take down a single one. If we take a look at Operation Capture Wall Leyndell, you will see a slight deviation off to the side here. This is the detour that will give us the power of the Giant Crusher. This, funnily enough, is the absolute greatest weapon From Software has ever made, on par with the Stake Driver in Bloodborne. It's so big that it takes up the entire screen, so slow that it doesn't even work in this game, and so limited in its moveset that you can basically only use R1. Overall, a complete detriment and the only weapon I use when I play this game. Fun game fact, it's also the only weapon capable of even grazing the Fire Titan. If my plan goes accordingly, it'll be within my grasp before touching even a single boss.
Ah! Yes! Bitch. Iframes in the cutscene? Yeah. Hey.
Unfortunately, this run is no longer possible, and I hate all of you. My whole life is basically over now. Well, the latter may be false. Nay, as is the former. I seriously could not give a fuck about integrity when it comes to this because I've already had to fuck with the game files to make the game actually playable. You may not have noticed through my own omission, but the game hasn't crashed even once yet. Thusly, I will fuck with it again. I need torrent to make this even slightly possible, or else this video will be 5 fucking hours long. We're like 12 minutes into the video, and I'm barely out of the spawn. With that out of the way, let's tackle an arguably even worse segment. Due to my limited understanding of Elden Ring and its map, I drew an asinine game plan for how I was going to get to Caelid. No, you can't just go over there like that. I need to use Spirit Springs to access Stormveil. Get a bonfire there maybe, and then ambush some. Why am I not even considering the castle gates? If I can find the clip, I'll show it. But I think it goes beyond justifying even trying. Instead, I need to go the long way, for now. Needless to say, although I'll say it anyway, it's fucked! Going from the Torrent bonfire makes no fucking sense, so let me try the Stake of Marika from earlier. No, I don't think I want to try the Stake of Marika from earlier. The Backshot Kings within smashing radius turn me into a vanilla glazed donut. There is, fortunately or unfortunately, another bonfire that's weirdly close by, but I shouldn't complain. Now, I can give myself the space to crumble in the face of this terrible gambit. No, wait, I need to get the map of Limgrave if I want even a single hope of moving around without the use of my, sight.
Damage to them. No, not the fucking steak.
Me when I order a steak and I did more.
Essentially, I need to make it up this hill, jump the Spirit Spring, and survive until I can acquire the bonfire. Which bonfire is even feasible, I don't know yet, since both the shack and the bridge bonfires seem equally fucked to get to. The Rube Goldberg machine eats me up, but refuses to spit me out the other end. It's like a perpetual torture machine. I then get the bright idea to use a portal to get to Caelid. There's a portal chest in Lake Agil that transports me to somewhere in Caelid. I don't really know. It was an escape from this purgatory at least, having returned to the start of the game to drive home just how little progress I've actually made in over an hour of gameplay. I turned my attention toward the utter travesty that is the ruins in the lake. I have no words. Oh wait, yes I do. It's fucking insanity is what it is. Even with the use of the stake of felt tip marker, I spent the better part of like an entire agonizing minute trying to get into exactly where the trapped chest isn't. Oh. It's time for a change of plan, I think.
It's not.
No, there isn't. Ah, yes, there in reality is. I got you so good. I used the interactive map from earlier to narrow down my prospects too. this spirit spring just by the bridge. First I must make it out of spawn, as we know, followed by begging for the array of avalanche Gatling guns to somehow miss me as I skirt on by. Backshot kings are thankfully mostly docile when at medium range, where they usually end up using the pursuing sun attack or a charge or something. Or, oh yeah, give me atomic backshots. Fuck. The narrative isn't moving toward an uplift just yet, though. It only took me like 10 minutes to finally get this fuck-ass bonfire. Instead of progressing through the game normally, I stick with the game plan and henceforth onto Caelid. It's really nothing to describe in detail, so I'll play a little montage of the more important moments and this flame breath attack. It really does ricochet, and it moves limitlessly. There is no way to predict where it goes once it starts bouncing. Fibula Giant sends his regards. If this annoying little prick wasn't here, I would have had an actual safe spot. Not that I even need one, since I can't jack upgrade shit. I'll state again the reason I'm grabbing these checkpoints. It's because I'm gathering jumping off points for the various other plans I have in store for you. This military operation is finally starting to pay off, it looks like. Caelid, on top of being scaled up and volatile to interact with, contains some of the more horrifying potential in this run, such as whatever the fuck this is, and states of Murica that will make your cooling fans burn the hair off your toes. A few checkpoints later and I acquire probably the most useful bonfire of all. The reason I wanted a safe spot bonfire was so that I could get through the dialogue necessary to be granted access to Rountable Hold, which is pretty much useless since I don't have the Giant Crusher yet, but good to have when I want the screen shake to end. There is one thing that may get some use here, however. The bonfire I used to get there is the location of the best farming spot I can think of for runs like this. To make it work I need a bow, and a bow I do not have. Let's try get the only one I can use with my pathetic stats. Fuck it. I'll see Operation Groundwork through to the end. Where that is that one fort that's been corroded by eons of Grail's farts. We live life attempting to avoid boredom at all costs, even if it means to constantly live in fear of it. By giving myself stupid shit like dragon farts to move toward, I am placing another stone on the path of creating a goal, no matter what it is. Future me butting in, what are the chances of me calling Fort Faroth Grail's fart? Might as well be fart fart fart. To keep my brain from getting holes in it. Maybe this is a result of goals in real life taking too long to achieve. Even the most frivolous, pettifogging pursuit will keep you relatively within the borders of sanity. That's because there really is no suffering worse than boredom. Forget to address it and its effects will begin to gnaw at the foundations of your reality. It's basically prayer. No, that's what prayer is. You are destined to eventually have nothing to do because that is who and what you were before you existed, and that is what you will someday return to. Boredom is itself an interpretation of death, both an emptiness with no movement whatsoever. Only for the former, you are conscious. It is every terrifying aspect of death, only you are aware of it. In other words, a worse fate. Is this our true condition?
Yeah. It'd be so funny if you could do like tricks.
If you go backwards, there's no limit on your speed. You can just go backwards infinitely. Right now I'm at minus 270 miles per hour. Game's starting to break. I don't know where the checkpoint is. This is what my game looks like when I first load up. We are on to the next objective, the High Road. First, we must traverse Stormveil Pass, a disaster waiting to happen, and make ourselves scarce once we land in Liurnia. Why the fuck is my game running like this? Hightail it to whichever checkpoint we can manage, making a small detour to acquire Chekhov's gun. It's a MacGuffin that's highly involved in the contingency plan if all else fails. After that, head north, under the toll bridge, up this spirit spring, through an easy little forest and acquire the Dectus elevator bonfire. Simple, right? That bridge bonfire is so ridiculously fucked that it's out of the question whether or not I use it again. Even going down the spring again for some reason seemed like a better option than trying the main road to Stormveil. So back to the gate bonfire we go. Here is where I discovered the savior of the video. You know what QS is by now. Probably, if you were listening, which you aren't, but what I didn't know is that you can do it while on torrent. while loading in, you're able to start sprinting. Like, through the loading screen, essentially. It's so early in the process, in fact, that the fire giants don't even load in properly, giving me about 5 meters of completely safe movement. By running slightly further once I am allowed to start quitting out, I get 10 meters of distance per QS. What I'm doing here is slightly different though. I am now going to dub it Torrent Periodic Quit Out Spam, or TPQS. Catchy, I know. What it is for sure though is that it is unbelievably powerful. It almost makes me not feel sick at the thought of QS, as useful as it is. It's like Fire Giant doesn't even exist. The thing mostly holding me back is my rudimentary grasp of this game.
Problema.
Whenever I pull out TPQS, you know shit just got real. I fucking hate doing it, is how you know. Don't believe me? In this recording I spent about 10 minutes fostering the urge to scream and slap my head while trying to get to the next bonfire. Through vanilla gameplay I can hope to progress literally within eyeshot, since my ears are shot completely. Praying for everything to line up isn't enough here. There are that many fire giants waiting to squash my nuts. And on the very first attempt where I used TPQS, it's done and dusted. I just established that my ears no longer work, so I used the vibrations from Fire Giant's stone grinding sound effect and its proximity to trigger the TPQS, solely to avoid an incoming attack, rather than spamming it outright. As I said, immense power. I want to use this opportunity to show the plural you my biggest mistake of all. Toto Triceps already did this run when Elden Ring came out. Right about here my run looks like this, while his one looks a lot like this. Honestly, comparing the two, this is the case across the entire game. I don't know where I went wrong, but I went wrong somewhere. Please send help. I will now demonstrate the ensuing carnage that resulted in me finally breaking down and giving into TPQS. I have dozens more deaths that I did not record because I just then came to the conclusion that I would be saving space on my hard drive by not recording something completely useless. With everything de-aggroed, I can now spare the time to take in my surroundings. Behind me, before the bridge, select fire giants wander aimlessly. He just let me for real. Sometimes they fall off, sometimes they don't. That's whatever. Stormveil Pass is an entirely different matter. Just like with Rykard, they pepper the mountainside with their ashy, crusty gyats, though if some are facing the right direction, I can walk underneath them. The plan I was concocting right here is that I was going to bait this guy off with my non-existent bow that I forgot that I never acquired. Then it's a matter of doing that again and again, and much further than that I do not consider. Strangely, I was allowed to just trot along the underside of the cliff without being punished for merely existing, as the Anunnaki seem to like doing to me. If I could just squeeze through the DMT alien scrotum, I could— HOLY SHIT! My plan is now totally ruined! Worse, this guy is stuck forever behind this geographical feature. What are these called? Hoodoo? We all saw earlier what happened when I tried to throw a beach episode to get the bow and arrow. I don't know if this is common knowledge, as I wasn't bothered finding out if it was, but a genius stroked me, I'll have you know. I was able to jump on that spirit spring from above by the bridge, right? While I blew my own fucking mind when my awful idea of jumping onto the spirit spring on the beach worked perfectly. For once, front flipping off a cliff was the second renaissance. This is where I locate a merchant who I can't sell anything to because I am broke. If this is common knowledge, I guess I'll go continue living under this rock, which will serve as my checkpoint for whenever I need arrows. This is where that farming spot comes in, which I needed bow and arrow for. Actually, wait, no, I decided to get a second merchant after my PTSD kicked in from the Rykard run. Luckily, someone died somewhere and I looted their corpse through astral projections, securing myself an entire bow and arrow. Now I can use that farming spot. Good thing I die fucking immediately. I just got too caught up in that boat tutorial, brezza. This tower is more than just phallic. It's well endowed with 14k souls per hit job. All I need to do is shoot each giant once and bait them off. Generally I get 2 at a time due to bullshit, meaning 30k souls per run. Now I can finally— When the fuck did I upgrade strength? I don't know where that clip is, so I'll do it in post. Whatever. 3 hours in, I am finally ready to make the game move forward. I'll speed up this part so you can see just how incredibly effective TPQS is in this entire run, and possibly how mentally damaging it is. Now that I'm at the pass, I can show y'all just how insanely messed up the avalanche attack really is. This disgusting piece of shit, vile thing guy will now demonstrate the bones of my hypothesis. From solely looking at how quickly this bastard uses up all of my Estus flasks, one would assume that the avalanche attack operates within a fixed radius around the fire giant, but shows up on altered terrain when needed. I mean, just look at his arena, it's a mess. It would want to work right at least a little bit. Oh wait, it doesn't. Oops! That's spoilers. Whoopsie daisies alert. With that guy out of the way, it's the turn of this backshot king, who instead of actually making an effort, decides to continually crack his own head off the pavement over and over. This is the fate of all who tried to interact with me, sadly. This fucking dumbass didn't want to miss out on everyone breaking the laws of physics today, so he blasts me through the map with his Lucora gun attack, I suppose. Regardless, I now have 0 heals for the coming onslaught. The next guy also gets caught on a hoodoo, so I bring back a little quirk from the Rankard run. As an example, in Stormveil Castle, I had to face away from approaching Rankards to degrade the collision enough to let them through whatever it was. I thought it might work here, but as soon as I heard the stone grinding sound effect, my aorta dissects, and I think, there's no way that avalanche could reach me here, right? There was no time to dismiss that idea, so I roll regardless. This fucking attack can reach through time and space to shatter my previous hypothesis. It concludes itself in one swift stroke by telling us that it isn't necessarily radius-based or coordinates-based. It simply does not consider empty space in its code, instead bunching together all ample terrain against itself with no gaps in between, with Fire Giant as the epicenter and me as the vector. A wormhole is what this is. Simultaneously, this other guy I aggroed displays the sheer chaos that is the Fire Breath. I don't even want to try to explain this. I get sick of his shit after he sends 2 suns at me, so I quit out, and discover that first guy in the hoodoo who was stuck simply perishes, and his friend disappears. Maybe it's the other way around, I don't know and I don't care. Obviously I die, that was foregone, but the data I collected was simply invaluable. This time I set record pace, and no-hit every giant in my path through what we learned. First, always roll when the avalanche strikes, to navigate its wormhole-ish properties. Second, be mindful of where the Lucora gun is being generated so I'm not hit through the map. Third, quit out to eliminate 2, maybe even 3 more giants. Now being able to traverse the open path and brushing my smooth head off of some scrote, I now know that I can bomb the fuck out of this pass. Every time I quit out, I can reduce my star rating to 1 and maybe even 0. I can traumatize Torrent by getting him, her, or Cool Hat dangerously close to Nether Giant's fire regions and come face to face with the final hurdle. I could... And we make it to Liurnia. By the way, if you somehow weren't able to tell, I ended up using TPQS and ignored everything I learned. Hooray for relapse. Now that we're in Liurnia, I can finally kind of relax. I don't like it, because if I do that, there's nothing distracting me from the odd thinking patterns that I've allowed to fester. The left side is a shit show, but too much of one. I need something slightly easier, but hard enough to make me forget about Rent for a while. The right side is more like it. It's the only possible way to go, so whatever the fuck. We're on that relapse type shit now. Why not do it again? The very next bonfire may be visible from any vantage point, but it sits right in the middle of some sort of bizarre phenomenon that scares me. Enemies, they call it. So why not? TPQS all the way there. Why not so? Oh, I didn't just mean there. Let's do it all the way. Yeah, let's fucking do it! Even if I'm completely lost down here, I'm essentially immortal. It seems no matter how much I try to think, I simply cannot bring myself to entertain the thought of learning how Liurnia is formatted. It's all just one big puddle, so who cares? Nah, and watch as I finally relax for a single moment, thereby ruining a good attempt that brought me into the middle of the map with no checkpoints beyond the one a few miles back. Is relaxation not just boredom? You know what'll happen. Shut the fuck up, current me. Past me says, I don't care anymore. I will ease up on my frustrations if it means actually using my brain for once. So what if I feel a bit bored? I can just actively ignore whatever is stressing me in the first place, thereby entering a state of stress even more catastrophic than if I entertained the thoughts in the first place. Happy now, future me? Yeah, sure am. Current me, 4th dimensional me here, I will now continue writing the script. Cycling through the woods is all well and good. The only threat is the infrequent blast of enemies out of nowhere that like to corner me, and the flame breath attack that has now added another layer of complexity to itself in the form of being able to careen and hit me directly like a guided missile. So it ricochets, flies through the air, can be aimed at me, and goes at Mach 3. That's really cool, actually, yes. Thank you.
When was the last time you seen The Godfather?
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
What? What the fuck?
By the way, the footage has been slightly zoomed in this whole time because I forgot to change the setting that makes Discord show up in-game. I fix it later, so don't worry your smelly ass over it. Sam. The contingency I mentioned earlier was one of the key plot points of the Rykard run. Right next to this bonfire is an avatar that drops the Ruptured Rectum Tear, which allows you to survive any fall with the right terrain. I was able to bait Rykard into falling off quite easily. Good thing Fire Giant possesses AI that prevents him from falling off of cliffs, even though it's a pointless feature since he can't fall out of his arena anyway, let alone any boss. That's cool. Also, he resides within a plutonium fission rod. Also, Fire Giant can't damage himself for some reason other than infighting groups. All of this is just so fucking cool. Yeah, I'm out. The contingency can go fuck itself forever, I think. Now that I think of it, the High Road is the only military exercise that I've been able to follow mostly to a T. I spoke too soon. Whatever the hell I drew up is nowhere near realistic, so I try to go through the lake itself to get to the Spirit Spring. Just how far off was I? Insert joke. In a daring tactic, I go all the way to the other side to try from that angle. And hey, it works. But now my military operation is in shambles. There's been a mutiny, and my wife just came out as gay. Thank you, Special Forces. Hey, this is nice. The tension in my shoulders has faded. I emptied my lungs and... and whatever I've been pushing to the back of my mind is making the middle of my brain quite itchy. Using this bonfire I never knew existed, and just a tiny bit of TPQS, I can rev my amygdala back into gear with what comes next. The Spirit Spring eternally curses me and seals my fate by letting me use it and then plant myself in the middle of this place. I don't know what it's called. Bellend Highway. The very beginning is rife with catastrophe, right up until the next checkpoint in the church. This is me attending mass, and as you can see I resorted to full-blown TPQS. I can't help it being my go-to anymore. I'm just too ambivalent when it comes to suffering versus boredom, which apparently are the only two states of being that exist. Pretty soon I come across the most insanely fucked choke point in the whole video. Well, the most insanely fucked one that I even consider addressing. Starting off my explanation is the couple of dudes behind me. A bowl hitter and a backshot king, who in the best of circumstances roll into me and in the worst of circumstances use both avalanche and fire breath. Thankfully, a staple marksman guarantees my turmoil by spawning me exactly where it is worst. Blocking my way directly in front are a couple dozen permanently aggroed fellowses who naturally use every attack across all movesets simultaneously. Also, my recording completely shit itself, and about 20 minutes of it is just this screen, which I assume was caused by the QS. So fun! Then there's recording 27, which is just this 2-second clip. Fun no made. Why the fuck are we here? Well, I went on and did Operation Delta Mango for the Dectus medallions after completely losing my shit back in Liurnia. But we aren't going to do that just yet. It's more thematically appropriate if we finish out Liurnia. Oh, yeah, I didn't record that part, because that was supposed to be recording 27. I don't know what the fuck I did, but that's just gone now. Forever. So much for a climactic ending to segment 2 of the video. Whatever, man. I got it after using TPQS anyway. Yeah, now what? Now there's nothing distracting you from the turmoil that's been growing under the shadow of whatever has been plaguing you. The soft and malleable minds of humanity is where hell truly makes itself at home. Is this who we are?
Sponsored by Robertson Sons Farm and Feed.
Where were we? Undergoing complete spurgification over by the second church. Pull-up game plan 2. Yes, 2. Which has been codenamed Delta Mango. The ultimate goal of this exercise is the Dectus medallion in Fort Haight, past Mistwood. For someone with a foresight impairment, I sure went above and beyond to construct a high-ground pincer maneuver offense, if somehow a pincer maneuver could be performed by a single individual over the course of several reincarnations. Let's go from left to right in this reenactment of what I did for about 35 minutes. A reenactment, I say, because the thing about what we saw earlier with recording 27 is that it isn't necessarily my recording getting corrupted, it's OBS itself, my recording software. I don't exactly know why it happens, but sometimes the feedback screen turns off entirely and I can't stop recording. And even if it worked fine for however long it was, as soon as OBS breaks, the recording is lost completely. This will happen way too often. Oh, but this isn't the bad thing. Not even close. The cathartic climax I will get from all this can only be measured in unit measurements lost to the Dead Sea Scrolls. The greater they fall, the higher they bounce, and all that. The first obstacle of the first checkpoint is literally just spawning in. I'm 99% convinced that Elden Ring AI learns your weaknesses, or maybe it was just the perfect range, but this motherfucker kept using fire breath on me and killing me instantly. There was never any hope of using the descending tombstones to get to the second church. So, what if I went around to what I thought was a possible second checkpoint due to my poor grasp of the map, but in reality is still the first checkpoint from a different angle? So what if I tried a secret fourth checkpoint all the way in Caelid for some fucking reason that, again, is plagued by fire breath attacks on every single attempt? I was using this to get to a bonfire that didn't exist. Again, due to my poor understanding of the map. So, what if I spawned at the church but oh yeah, I forgot how genuinely awesome this mechanic was that I can't even escape from if I wanted to. But I can just use the errant couple to blast this cunt 7 ways to heaven, surely. No. Why would that be any good? Of course he's functionally immortal, no thanks to my piece of shit gardening trowel. You will never, ever guess how I got past this. It wasn't TPQS for once, as evidenced by my blatant use of TPQS. Don't worry, I only start using it once I've edged my catharsis meter just enough to have an effect, but not disintegrate me entirely. Once past that, there's the trouble of that mysterious bonfire. What the fuck? I did my due diligence, worry not, this is underneath the map! Why it isn't labeled as such, I don't care, and ooh, am I gonna make it? Holy clarting hell, I made it. Disclaimer, this is still a reenactment. From here on out is not a reenactment though. There's still the trouble of actually acquiring the second church bonfire, where the physic flask resides, thereby securing the contingency if comes to that. Well, okay, it's still only a single component of a plan I never use and, for legal reasons, that isn't spoilers. You must remember that I've already long been doing some off-camera suffering thanks to OBS, and I am still in a TPQ fucking S mood. Totally preparing quality steak, bitch. Doesn't mean I'm immortal though, as I mentioned before that Backshot Kings have an instant smash move that supersedes even QS, let alone TPQS. Easy peasy, bonfire secured. Quite useful. Flask secured. Not really useful. And Sacred Tear secured. Completely useless. Now to totally prepare some quality steak all the way to Fort Haight. Bitches, what am I, only 5-ish hours in? Double that, maybe even triple or quadruple for the loading screens. Mistwoods map secured. Mostly, if not entirely useless. Merchant murdered and annihilated. Haha, get right. And can I please just drive home just how insanely fucked Mistwoods is as an area for me? I have no reason to record the beginning to middle portions more than once, even if the sort of sadistic degenerates who watch this kind of shit would love to see that, because it is just fucking quality steak. I'm going to wager that it's about 500 meters from this bonfire to the next one at Fort Haight. 10 to 20 meters per quid out means, at the absolute least, 25 quid outs just to physically make contact with the checkpoint. Now factor in me not being able to find it, circling around, constantly QSing, and ultimately dying of fall damage right on top of the bonfire.
Oh, that's good.
Repeat. With that bonfire claimed, it's time I remind you why we are here. Operation Delta Mango's main objective is the Dectus Medallions. I already have Fort Fard, and I don't think I need to explain just how fucked it is. Fort Knight, on the other hand, may or may not be, perhaps, perchance, maybe not better, or worse. From a single look, oh boy does this look good. Hopefully this is what makes me snap already. This is one of the very few infighting groups of the lands between, meaning it doesn't matter where I am, or when I am there, or how I am when, this is a collapsing star until it stops itself. It takes a few tries where I'm sent into low Earth orbit before I come to the genius conclusion of waiting like 2 minutes for everything to annihilate itself. 1 or 2 or 3 is far more manageable, far from ideal, but something intermediate at the least. The reason they survive is because they don't take any damage, and that's very cool. So while I'm in the thick of it and everybody knows, I broke myself and single quarter for the sake of just making it inside. Oh, look at that! Sometimes a quit out is the most powerful offensive option for reasons beyond reasoning. As for the interior, it's a foregone conclusion. Mid-year enjoyers will remember that ladders ruined my QS tactics, and I don't think I need to explain why this rather lengthy ladder makes this a complete impossibility. Operation Delta Mango is on the rocks now, so let's devise a covert recon mission into the ruin-strewn precipice, which was the original plan to begin with. Some very periodic torrent quantum slicing gets us all the way to the base bonfire, and yeah, this was never an option, was it? How lame is that? You'd think after such a lame part 2 I'd have something better in store for this one. How about you... Yeah, turn around. Look over there for me. Hey! I said! Keep looking over there, alright? Hold your breath and count to 100 for me until I say. Look at that! Somehow we made it into Altus! It really is the inverse of the sunk cost fallacy, isn't it? The longer I suffer, the greater the dopamine hit once it's over. I lost myself in the pursuit of catharsis at the cost of about 5 shillings, but that's just it. It's a cycle that may never end, since I'm not actually seeking the dopamine hit. I enjoy the prospect of the potential reward rather than the reward itself. In one regard, this is a perpetual motion machine where constantly pursuing the constructed image of the release is what fuels me. Though I am only human and my nervous system can only handle so much abuse before it gives out. Is this why we are chosen to live?
Helvetica Center.
This is also a reenactment. What do you want? Alles, das du nun wissen musst, is that I totally prepared some quality steak up to the first few bonfires. Got the map, tried to go inside but found out it was ridiculously fucked. Tried making it to Melanep but got fucked. Tried to go around but found out it was ridiculously fucked. And ended up totally preparing some more quality steaks up and... Shut up! Through the front door. Easy! Now let's pull up Operation Capture Wall Leyndell. I mean, I kind of just did, but to do so we need to exit out the other end after being vored some. Remember that offshoot path for this game plan? This is the Giant Crusher. We already established that this thing is the only feasible way to deal damage to Fire Giant. No, actually, no. It is the only way at all from a morality standpoint. It's also the coolest thing of all time. Acquiring it, though, is an endeavor in and of itself. From the main bonfire, it's very nearly... You stop hitting my mic. From the main bonfire, it's very nearly possible without TPQS, and by very nearly I mean not even in the slightest. It's also not possible to come at it from that angle due to the backshot kings and their instant smash. It seems going around the way is a much better option, seeing as the chest containing Giant Crusher is exposed from that side and there are no enemies blocking it whatsoever. In light of that, let's prepare some stakes all the way up to this minor Erd Tree Church, aka the single worst bonfire so far. This guy prevents world travel by virtue of existing, and if I get lucky, it's a spawn kill. It's from this approach that Fuck, I don't even know anymore. Listen, I tried to do it normally, I really did, but TPQS was the only way I could stomach the thought of even continuing this vile thing. Spent like 20 minutes just trying to open the damn chest, even with such a powerful tool. Still died, but I got it in the end. I want more. I want the Giant Crusher. Everyone would be exactly the same all the time were it not for the compulsion to only reveal a minute aspect of oneself at a time. For now, I am the Giant Crusher. The Giant Crusher is me. With this matter settled, I am now bestowed the ability to use a weapon for once. That is correct. I haven't actually swung a weapon yet, beyond using my bow to poke at things from afar. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a Ring of Artorias kind of thing, where only the Giant Crusher can deal damage to Fire Giant. Thus begins the training arc. Before I tackle the single worst checkpoint of all time, it's time I upgrade the smothering fuck out of this unbelievable piece of weaponry. I really can't see anything, can I? First off, I tried to make friends with this merchant by the bridge, who is blocked by his posse on all fronts. Tragically, I got the fucker creamed by accident, but the one good thing about this game is that you can pick up people's bell bearings so that they may serve you even in death. Next up is Limgrave Tunnels, which you may or may not know to be in Lake Agheel. I did not have a torrent and thus TPQS last time I was here, so with the addition of the staple harper, getting there was a cinch. As for the tunnels themselves, well, that was a complete and utter travesty. Good thing these guys weren't aggroed most of the time. Can you shut the fuck up, please? Just hit your head. The final implement is this statue on Stormveil that amazingly already got busted ages ago, it seems. Giant Flusher goes to +3. Next up is Titanite Stone 2, found in Liurnia. Bum rush this crab pit or whatever it was, and after that the world is your lobster. Truly, horrors, well within the computing power of my head. Already steaming and far too hot from all this bullfuckery. Really emphasizing the periodic part of this steak roasting here is that I only need to do so whenever I hear that stone grinding sound effect denoting aggro. Farm whichever gazebo it may be that has 3 shards each, this tree surrounded by Armageddon, nearly soft-locking myself at this awful bonfire and make my escape to the farming spot yet again to just barely bring myself to +6. For smithing blood shard 3, it's back to Liurnia for quite a while. Wasted like 40 minutes here. I'm really not bothered to lay down a narrative, so I will just show you a compilation of the weirder parts of this endeavor, and also elaborately elaborate a little on our future plans. The first boss I intend to confront is the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and before I even go near that bitch, I want to get my hammer to a fairly substantial persuasion. The reason being the bonfire is ages away, and I am well aware just by the interactive map that it'll be a pain in my pain to get to and fro. The worst part about getting the giant slusher to +9 was this part in the Crystal Forest area that had way too much going on for the likes of me. So with my hammer not upgraded at fucking all, I make my way to Draconic's Tree Chunganal because I do not value my time in this finite organism. Obviously I TPQS. Honestly, I'm hardly going to describe it anymore if it's the first thing I go to post-assessment of my environment. Stink of Malignant 1, start of Mario Pole 2, and here we are at the boss fight. This is epic. Problems begin at spawn, but are we so different? It differs mostly in the fact that, yes, the boss engages eye contact with me, shutting down my faculties, but so does this other bowl hitter behind me, and rarely some other dude in the back. Theoretically, this is a great thing. I can get them to spam each other with avalanches to death without even inciting the wrath of the fell god's flame. No, I will not, as that is a fate too good for me, and that's not even the worst problem. My damage is absolutely horrendous. Not only because my hammer is terrible, but so is my leveling. I think I'm like level 30 something here, and all of my shit has been put into strength. That does nothing to service my damage anyway. Back to the dartboard, really. The goal is the Titanite Bearing Balls 2. Location, Gale Tunnel. Oh man, I can't fucking do it. Fuck it, I go into the tunnel and I get it. Happy? Also, apparently the Fire Sentinel died at some point. I didn't miss recording a single bit of my presence in Limgrave, and I still have no idea when that happened. But it did. And here's my proof. With this Baldmunkus 2, I get 12 easy blood shards for an even easier +12. Titanite Stone 5 is really bad. Very, very poor, actually. One must first lose their mind in the sealed tunnel before losing their mind in the old Altus tunnel before losing their mind. Is this really as close as it gets to the actual me? Am I just a deluded masochist at the end of the day? What case the ever I need to get there in the first place, which involves starting from the beginning and going along the left side. TPQS and its consequences quickly follow suit. The game runs so unbelievably poorly inside this tunnel that I am just awestruck. Like seeing another sunset, something that never gets old. Something so beautiful that I forget to claim the bonfire in here and I'm spawned about 70 nautical leagues downstream of the blood shit I made in response. At the time I was sick of Plato's caves, one after the other, and I felt like I got enough 5s in here. Really, the vast majority of this so-called gameplay is so ass that I instead go to Caelid to see if I fare any better. And I do. Quite close by is this statue that only takes medium degree of struggling to break open and get the 3 smithing shards stowed inside. Giant Gusher goes to 15. Smithing Ingot 6 was, if you would believe it, even worse. There are only like 2 places to get them in the overworld when you exclude Falling Star Beasts. I go ahead and try the closer one anyway because I fooled myself into believing it would be even remotely possible. Even if Fire Giant stayed put, he doesn't. The fight takes place in the center of every single enemy's aggro in the area. Even if they did damage to the boss, they don't. There is absolutely no way of surviving that. Even if Fire Giant could fall off the edge, he won't. I have no hope at all of getting the boss to do that. The last thing I wanted to do right then was to go all the way to Mount Gelmir and Volcano Manor for a marginal increase in damage, meaning it was right back to the Sentinel boss for now. I remembered this cheese I saw a while back that involved saving and quitting right behind the poor bastard, and luckily enough, it still works. My damage has improved significantly, and to toot my own horn, so did my tactics. The extent of that is hit the left leg until it breaks, get as many hits off as I can, and then die somehow. Fucking brilliant. I have exactly 29 minutes and 52 seconds of footage of me going up, quitting out, hitting the leg twice, get some more in, and watch Fire Giant piss all over my ass. When his left leg breaks, he's compelled to smash it up a bit more by rolling away and getting his flame on. This is always followed by a pursuing sun, then Lucora gun, and from there is just sad. Straight up depressing gameplay where I try my best to get Mr. Giant over his hump, literally, and come and fucking fight me. Of the few times it actually works, he kills me because I, deep breath now, suck really hard at fighting Fire Giant. Especially because I haven't done it a single time until just now. This was the core of my issues. I wasn't good enough skill-wise to beat this boss. It was totally possible with the right amount of patience. What the fuck? Instead, let's farm for like an hour and double our strength stat. Down a chicken foot, and I get 200k just from Grail. I'm not stopping there. The next time I use that Stake of Marika, I want it to be my last. I need to get stronger. I need to become what I need to become in order to achieve what I need to achieve. It's time to head to Mount Gelmir. Okay, I would show you what I did to get there, but honestly the script needs it. There was so much quitting out yet again that OBS couldn't take it anymore and died again. All you really need to see is what happens when I go across this bridge while not looking down. Beyond that fuckfest is the rest of Mount Gelmir, where a lethal dose of autism awaits. Right here is where another very strange WrestleMania SmackDown is happening, complete with suplexes and elbow slams. It's really hard to stay humble when I keep coming up with tactics of genius. What I do here, instead of undergoing mystification, is wait for everyone to get caught up in the brawl before I make a break for it. And that over there, that is my bonfire. We need to take this TPQS. TPQS, TPQS, titillating preemptive questionnaire study. I bet you all are so sad not to see that. Oh no. The reason I came here was for 1, the Falling Star Beast and its potential tier 6 shards, 2, Volcano Manor for the same reason, and 3, the rest of Gelmir for the same reason. First comes the Falling Star Beast, and its extremely fun arena that simply will not allow it to fall out while simultaneously preventing me from ever getting a good hit in somehow. If you exclude that guy throwing it back over there in the distance, I really see no other reason for being here. Those stones are as good as gone. No getting them here. Or I would simply move on, but I just feel like venting some of my Among Us about the fire breath. I do not know who coded it, or who approved of its design, but I am fairly certain it was never meant to be experienced within the confines of a video game, let alone being stretched to its limits with my wall shenanigans. Also, I am like 99% certain that there are nowhere near this many enemies in the base game. Isn't there only like a single guy outside this door? What the fuck? The interior of Volcano Manor is crazy disturbing. Aberrant hands, grinding noises, the occasional screen shake, and whatever the fuck is going on with NPCs and their get-ups. Every single thing is just a little bit off-putting. I won't bore you with the details of, oh, I went here and did that, and I got some tier 6 shards. Alright, maybe I'll show you some funny clips I came across, but for the most part Volcano Manor was insanely fucked up. A part of me rests here, dead and gone. That scared me. All you really need to know is that after a couple of hours of resisting the urge to invert my body tissues, I got the hammer to plus 18.
This is running really bad. And it crashed.
It was now or never. If I didn't get Draconic Tree Sentinel here, I never would. The run would be over. Nah, I'd probably cheat my way through if it was really that bad. I became what I had to become. That is to say, stronger, stats-wise, and maybe some skill as my schizoid ideations arose floridly. Those things, in order to achieve what I had to achieve. I became Giant Crusher. It's what I needed to manifest myself as to act out this divine will. I had to do that so I could be something I could believe in a way I wanted to believe it. If I wasn't this cross-section of a concept, it wouldn't be possible. I pretended to become Giant Crusher. So in that sense, I became Giant Crusher. By acting like something that can achieve that thing, I really do become that thing. Because eventually I end up doing whatever it is I signed myself to do. Is this what it means to be? Well, let's get going then. At the time, I was being extremely patient, just wanting to go insane already, but in that rumination I came to several conclusions. With the power of TPQS, I really can do absolutely anything I want, excluding using a fucking ladder or whatever, but that's whatever. All I need is to get 2 great runes. Of all the great runes, I knew for absolute certainty that obviously Radahn is my best option. No, it really was. Before I know it, I'm there. You know how I got here, don't kid yourself. Even though there shouldn't be anything still here, I am just afflicted. I didn't even know there were still enemies when this was happening, and why would there be? As for Radahn, I simply had no intention, at all, of having an even remotely fair fight. If I have it in me to go through the clips and find them, I won't put this in, but basically it boils down to spawning as many NPCs as possible. Watching them die instantly, over and over, beg for Blythe to make a slight dent, and repeat.
What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Go fight him, you dumbass.
Also, the Godskin theme was playing and even got a phase transition. Oh, very nice.
He's de-aggroed.
Otherwise, an interesting tidbit is that one of the NPCs died while spawning in, and died so hard that they were stuck about 3 meters in the air in an ethereal form, and drew aggro the entire time.
What the fuck are you? What is that?
Very cool. Also, I got this in 1 try, bitches. Put that on the shelf. Another reason I chose to do Radahn first, other than being extremely easy, is that I now have another path before me. I could go through the Meteor Strike in Mistwoods, go through Nokron, risk fighting Mimic Tier, somehow get to Twin Gargoyles, a boss I really like by the way, but the internet told me was shit, then somehow beat Deeproot Depths, and then somehow make it... Dude. And then somehow make it into Leyndell from there. So I could either do this, or I could just QS the entire way through Stormveil Castle. Stormveil is still essentially scaled to 0, and my hammer is nearly full. Now watch me annihilate the arsing hell out of Margit. Bet you've never seen this kind of thing before. Now that I mention it, I haven't mentioned it. Scaling, I mean. Yeah, I scaled the enemies. QS through the rest of Stormveil and annihilate the arsing hell out of Fire Jodric. Great rune acquired, and now finally I have been hyping it up the entire video. The big one. The grand penultimate. It's here. It's finally happening. Why am I seeing Luna everywhere? This is it. It's here. The grand penultimate. The big one. We're gonna do it. Let's fucking do it. Leyndell is impossible. I don't mean in a, oh, it isn't possible for a human to do this, and that with enough RNG it can be done. It is not figurative. It physically is not possible to beat Leyndell. Here is my reference for that point, the roadside bonfire. As you can see, every 10 tries I am able to escape the cycle of being shot out with collision physics to make it to the bottom of the stairs solely by dying and flopping there. There are so many entities, cramming every single corner and crevice. And this is just one example where I am able to show you without OBS totally wrecking itself. I was recording everything I was able to muster for this level for exactly 38 minutes before I grew paranoid, tried to stop recording, and saw that it wasn't able to stop. That is what signifies brain death for OBS. Instead, let's focus on something that was actually cool. While you weren't looking, I somehow made it to Jodfrey's Shade. This is the first Backshot King boss fight I have done, and holy fuck is it not good at all. Of all the times I could have come up against this guy, it was in the smallest possible room, with the least amount of space to run with. There are several guarantees that I will describe to you in but a jiffy. Guarantee 1. The first attack at this range is the forward slam and diarrhea explosion. It happens to the worst of us, but this guy is rinsing his own eyeballs with intestinal biohazard. Second guarantee. The Krakatoa is completely safe, due to either this gazebo bullshit or due to the ceiling being too close. Third guarantee. The flame breath attack is a death sentence if I am not underneath his gonads, and even then I'm pushing it. The final guarantee is that I will not be able to beat this if I do not improve at the game somehow. This pile of spaghetti that controls my meat mech is what makes me an animal. I am an isolated organism incapable of truly interacting with this monstrosity before me, not physically, the same way the electrical charge of the atoms that constitute our bodies prevent us from ever physically touching. So what difference does it make? Ever since your birth, there has been a barrier both holding you together and permanently isolating you within the confines of your own universe. The exception to that, I think, is our awareness of one another. That may be the key to true contact.
That's my heartbeat right now.
With that out of the way, let's invade Marika's bedchamber that her son is watching over for some reason too. Oh yeah, remember that thing where OBS can't stop recording and dies? It happened again. Here. It wasn't that impressive or that hard, it was a bowl hitter on a flat arena. It was fine. I'll make up for that later somehow.
What's going on stuff?
Biblically accurate Mountaintops just dropped, and it is ugly. Past me is now parceling recordings at 5 minutes apiece to stave off the breakdown just a tiny bit. One more crash is all it will take. It is not helped at all by the disturbing sight of several hundred entities that at first glance look like dogs and mushroom-headed folk. I'm barely even tempted to use QS because it's just fascinating how fucked up it all is. The rest of Lower Mountaintops is, there's really nothing happening here. My game plan is going perfectly, in fact. Oh yeah, the game plan. This is it. And it's exactly how it's been going. For once I can go from checkpoint to checkpoint perfectly at ease. With a little TPQS here and there, obviously, due to non-existent aggro range, but it's just... I don't know. I was almost hoping for it to be bad, and that way it would be worth it, I guess. The bridge is... well, it's the bridge. Disturbing, but harmless. Aha! The lake looks pretty bad. I need to use the telescope to map out a route and... oh no! Now look! It didn't help shit. And it's pretty alright, really. Oh, this fort looks pretty messed up. I'll have to make sure I don't get caught under a backshot king. That's it? In pursuit of the ultimate cathartic release, I accomplished what, exactly? I completely forgot that my sole purpose was to kill Fire Giant and destroy their gravity bomb, and seal Wall Leyndell away from this swarmed mountaintop. It was replaced by smaller, less lofty goals because I sort of accepted the fact that I would never achieve this big one, at least not within the frame of my patience. Now that I'm here though, what was it for? Giving myself something to do, no matter how stupid or inane it is just to keep me sane, really. It's shooting myself in the foot is all it does, because now that this level is actually palpable and playable, I can't deal with it. I got so used to the constant turmoil that it brought the tick rate in my head to a boil, because I wasn't willing to face inward. I didn't believe I could make it here, so I pretended to be someone who could, thus being that person to begin with. And now that I'm here, at the gravity bomb, 6 or 7 hours of loading screens later, what do I get? By avoiding the path of boredom, in other words, conscious death, I came upon it. Did I get that hit? I know what I didn't get. I didn't get literally the last 5 seconds of this fight, due to the hard drive space running out. It seems small, but honestly, that was exactly the thing I needed to get pushed right over the fucking edge. Let's explore the depths of this bowl of cereal by kicking off with Luna telling me to live. How quaint. Really, she just went and blew herself up for no reason on a cold winter's day in the year 1787. Not quite early enough to grant the wishes of the Lord itself, Farah Mazula, which was a lovely, disgusting little stroll through what used to be Rykard and the end of the world way back when, residing in my bed frame of glass, picking up several things of unknown importance along the way, such as the cigarette that I don't smoke that somehow ended up in the shower. We trot along to the next bonfire and are faced with an inordinate amount of bullshit extending its hand upon my screen between myself, the Triad, and its TPQS messengers to the gods can do a bonfire fact that the only way to sense something else's nervous system is to understand its patterns of joy, despair, and its flaws. Along with its neurodivergence ability, users of the autonomic nervous system, we are able to exist within one another in the form of how we make each other feel, though it is still not truly experiencing each other, but as close as it possibly gets. Other than the sight of the leg, gods can do was beaten on the first try, bitches. However, if something understands you better than you do, what could that mean? Then again, who you are on the outside is a part of who you are, since you need it to keep your insides, well, inside, as they are afraid of sunlight And would you look at that, who knows when we reached 99 strength, as if it even matters at this point. The video from now on is going to be a stream of consciousness on par with the Silmarillion, not to be confused with the stream of shit running down my leg. I think something very wrong has transpired within my noggin, but fuck it man, at this point why stop the train from leaving the station like it is in the grand scheme of things, where what your organism presents itself as matters very little when compared to such a massively complex organ, with this leaky sponge's external interpretation of itself being as close as it gets to its actual self. Or is that the real us? Is something you will never know, not on my watch. We are riding this elevator to the top in both interpretations of the term, and leaving behind this abstraction of personality, best described through what we leave behind, with a great example being riding is something we leave behind, and leaving behind is leaving behind is leaving behind is leaving behind. Is this why shitposting is so powerful? Is this the real you? Is art the act of perfecting creation, no matter what that creation it may be? And some examples that people leave behind are things like paintings, music, a table, a suspension bridge, mass-produced concrete, bollards, ideology, children, erosion, the planet's crust, the sphere that we orbit. It doesn't have to be even remotely appealing or intended to be interpreted as art, but that's just how I see it, you know. At this point the flow of time has been upended, so let's do the DLC, why not? Come on! Let's do the DLC while we're at it. Let's do the Halling Tree, let's do the end of the game, let's do all of these at the same time, as well as Crumbling Farum and some other shit. Let's walk along the Gravity Bong and get its due mileage. Let's talk about those awful, sticky hands that are still stuck to every mid-2000s kid's ceiling, because that is art. So any one thing that is intended to better represent and be closer to its ideal form is art. Yes, even the Facebook Ghibli piss filter AI slop, though whether or not its creator is conscious is something I don't even like thinking about, but fuck it, at this point it doesn't matter. Whether or not anything is conscious is beyond anyone's conclusion. I mean, for all we know, consciousness is just a moving force that occupies a space that will accommodate it, and that force itself is a spectrum that draws itself from a single mass like usual, in ways that can never be described with how our brains work. What we create is who we are. We drip feed, pour, completely fill our creations with aspects of ourselves until at some point they become more representative of ourselves than the ape that made it. Is that the real you, or is life just a well-intentioned gift, regardless if it is good or fair, which is not? You can't control what you are given or control what you are able to give, but what matters is that you give in the first place. Just because life gave you something does not mean you have to accept it, but you have to accept living. Not for any higher reasoning or, there is beauty that you may never experience. Shut up. You have to live because you have to, because you want to, as proven by existing at all. If not for joy, live for spite. Do whatever Piccolo does. In doing so, you may overcome whatever it is, and eventually live for something a bit nicer. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas, and merry 1 year anniversary to me going insane. Nah, that'd be 8th of April. I would like to apologize for the late upload. I had exams and other business to attend to, such as the birth of my 4th child. I would like to shout out all of my patrons as of the making of this video. Aiden Edmonds, Anibal Prieto Amanavar, Azur Threto, Cerulean Mimic, Chud Daughter Mechanic, Demiurge, Furlord, IDR Phoenix, Contio 1MK, Lenzo the Accursed One, Mavolander, Anjay Shaman, Piggy, T-Char, and The Cure for Life 1. You people helped me get the food on my plate. I now implore you to hand over all of your financial assets. As per the vote, the next video is Dark Souls 3 Drug Review. Whatever the hell that could even mean. After that though, I'm not as certain. I may have to do another vote, but it might be Bloodborne. Arrivederci. Hope that came through well.